This Congress has been a bit different than others. I think as many as 70, nearly 80 members of the House of Representatives who are new. And so for them, this has been an orientation process about how Congress works and what is their role. And because there's been a large number of House members who are still learning the ropes for organizations like LIRS, who are hoping to work with members on different immigration and refugee issues, it's taken us some time to kind of build those relationships with those new members. Currently, what's happening right now in Congress is that members of Congress, both the House of Representatives and the Senate, are still trying to figure out how they want to fund the federal government for the remainder of fiscal year 2011. Earlier this year, the House of Representatives passed a bill, H.R. 1, that would actually make deep cuts into refugee programs and programs that help serve immigrants who are seeking to become U.S. citizens here in the United States. And these were really harmful proposals, and it's unfortunate that despite the tremendous needs that refugees overseas have, and also those refugees who are here in the United States, that members of Congress would consider cutting support to them. And so LRS has been working very hard to help educate members of Congress about kind of who refugees are and why these federal programs are helpful, but also to talk about kind of the communities and the volunteers who help to support refugees here, and how here domestically there's a really important public-private partnership. This is a new Congress, and so every time there's a new Congress, any bill that was introduced in the last Congress, you would have to reintroduce it. Our expectation is that both in the House of Representatives and in the Senate, the DREAM Act will be introduced, and so we stand ready to work with both the House and the Senate to support the bill and to encourage, in a bipartisan way, kind of the urgent passage of the legislation. As many of you may remember, last year in December, the Congress came very close to actually passing the DREAM Act. Majority of representatives voted in favor of it, and it passed the House, but unfortunately we were 5 votes short in the Senate. So we do hope that in this Congress we'll be able to build off of that momentum and to finally be able to pass the DREAM Act, because as we all know, these are just tremendously talented and committed young people who provide kind of deep contributions to our communities, to our families, to our society, and it would really be tragic to have to not be able to take advantage of those benefits, and for those kids to be deported to a home they do not know. Earlier this week in the Senate, a number of senators introduced the Liberian Refugee Immigration Fairness Act. And this is a bill that has been introduced in past Congresses, which basically helps to support Liberian refugees who arrived to the United States in basically the early 1990s as a result of a civil war going on in Liberia. And really the importance here and the urgency behind this bill is that Liberians were welcomed to the United States in 1991 because of this civil war. And so 1991 is 20 years ago, and so but when they were welcomed with a form of temporary legal status called temporary protected status. And so this is a temporary legal status that allows them to work. And so over the years, a number of them have been able to obtain green cards here in the United States. Some have probably gone back to Liberia, but there still remains a population of a few thousand Liberians who still have this temporary legal status. And so it's really up to every administration, every year and a half, to basically extend this temporary status. And the deadline for the current temporary status is September 30th of this year. So if President Obama and the administration does not extend the temporary status for these Liberians, then what they basically are facing is the requirement that they return back to Liberia. But given the fact they've been here for 20 years, I'm sure they all have deep roots into American communities, having jobs, probably part of our churches, contributing members of our society, and having families too. So the bill would basically provide a permanent solution for Liberians who have been living in a temporary limbo period for 20 years. So there's really a whole lot of ways for constituents to be involved in advocacy. First and foremost, LRS has an action center on its website that's constantly being updated with different action items. All you have to do is type where you're living, your zip code, and through our service, they'll provide you with the contact information for both of your senators and your representative, so you can send a letter directly to those offices to weigh in on these important issues. It's really incumbent upon kind of all of us to help make sure that we can find kind of bipartisan ways to help kind of reform our immigration and refugee systems. And it's unfortunately the process takes a little longer than most of us would like, and so it's really important for us to all work together to kind of find ways to kind of work with Congress and administration to help provide better welcome to refugees and immigrants.